Okay, this is the February mesh meeting, and we'll continue with your conversation. Go ahead, Nick and John.
Yeah, well, I was just saying that it seems like Providence Mount St. Vincent, the AREDN node that's there, is connected to Beacon right now, and it has been for the last couple months when I've been checking on it. And it was not earlier in the summer. And I don't know if that's because of tree cover or weather or what, but I'm not able to access that Providence Mount St. Vincent node on Hamwan, though. I don't
If
know why
have you
that's.
tried to drive by it to see if you can stick your little device in your laptop and get it from the street below?
I haven't done that in a while. It's been probably a couple of months since I've done that.
Mm.
But it looks like it's up, and it looks like it's talking to Tom. So I just can't get it on the Hamwan side.
Hmm. Well, Tom will be back. I don't think it's classified 22nd. So he'll give him a couple of days after that to get back to normal time zone. He's about 12 hours out of sync. So again, this month I have nothing to report as the facilitator other than um, we're still here. And I think the only people that are doing anything is maybe Nick, part-time, possibly Frank McJunkins, maybe. But since Tom's been gone, there hasn't been too much done all this winter. I'm looking forward to getting something moving forward, especially on that California link up and down north and south on California for the parade. Gathering the equipment, doing some uh, testing, um, batteries and solar panels and chains and locks to secure everything and try and see if we can, without the pressure of the parade in the middle of um, March or April, just set something up and see if we can talk. I think that would be a fairly good target. We already agreed that we have the equipment. We just need to repurpose some things. Did John Murphy ever talk to you, Nick?
I haven't talked to John Murphy um,
Okay.
since that time that he was on in this meeting.
Okay. Because he's got an omnidirectional that belongs to the club. So that's something for you to know, John. That's a piece of equipment that's owned by the club.
Okay.
It's John Murphy's house. I think it's KI7IYP.
He's what, about 4 blocks from me north, roughly. So
Yeah,
yeah, I had
yeah.
coffee with him last well, just 2 days ago, and about hub meetings and so forth. We talked also a little bit about um, uh, mesh networking and so forth as part of the hub response too, but didn't mention any hardware to me. So, okay.
Okay. No, he's got hardware. And I think John, you've got a list, possibly a spreadsheet that had that listed with the serial number and his call sign and location.
I did not. Well, there.
No, I'm sorry, the other John,
Oh,
YRA.
oh, okay.
Yeah, there is a spreadsheet, but I can't, I haven't looked at it for quite a while. But the, yeah, there was a period of time there where people were, uh, providing information on their setup, and I was putting it into the spreadsheet, but that hasn't been updated for some time. When did John Murphy get on the mesh? When was he? When did he?
Probably 2019, 2020.
Okay, there's a chance I have some information.
Yeah,
For
it's
him.
it's on that spreadsheet. He's listed as coming online in August of 2021.
Oh,
So how much
That wasn't
detail is there?
too far.
Dave?
It has his grid square, and it says it's an Omni antenna. That's all it says.
and it's a Rocket M2.
Ubiquiti Rocket M2 with an Omni antenna, and it has his location.
So I did for the benefit of those who want to get in touch with John Murphy, I posted his email and his phone number on the chat.
For those of you who don't know, our president has assigned working groups, committees, if you will, 7 new committees, of which I'm in charge of the, what is it? I got it here. Nope, I took it home. The outreach, not outreach, emergency communications, essentially. So dealing with hooking up with the hubs, which is easy for me to do because Cindy lives in the same house, so I can get an update from her. But also the ACS, Auxiliary Communication Service, and any of the other groups, the MCOM type groups. So I'll be primarily concentrating on that effort. Tom, meanwhile, has taken over a committee lead of the technical committee, which includes the mesh team. So after Tom gets his feet back on the ground, I'll be looking forward to have him lead the mesh effort. He's more technical, way more technical than I am. But I'm still a member of the MTC, but I think I'll have some different fish to fry than doing a report to the ACS from our club activities, and then the club activities or the ACS back to the club of what they're doing, and running to ground the MOU is probably the biggest item on my plate right now. I've got all the things I need. I've got acknowledgement from ACS that it's then in their in basket being handled by Spencer Bonner, who is the chief of radio, Tom's boss, essentially, and waiting to find out what, if anything, needs to be done on that so I can get it back to Alan for his signature and put that to bed. But has nothing that I said had anything to do with mesh. I still do have, for anybody that cares, I still have a TP link sitting on the floor here that I used to use to communicate with the one upstairs, but I haven't even done that of late. So it's sitting here unused and can be utilized if necessary by the team to repurpose it. It's available. I think that's all that I purportedly have. Yep. We'll go to John, AZP.
Well, I don't have a whole lot to report, so I actually kind of mothballed for a little bit. But weather's supposed to get a little warmer. I'm guessing probably should be able to get out there in the next 2 to 4 weeks and get a pole back up and do some more testing. As I described, I John Murphy lives just north of me. I believe he's going to refire his unit. I didn't see it on the list when I was testing the last time. Um, I'm hoping I can get line in down to the Salvation Army hub there as well. Uh, I'd like to see some stability for getting to St. Vincent and High Point. Both of those, I can get them to connect maybe 10% of the time with a good enough uh, bandwidth to say that it's workable. But most of the time, it's just kind of like I see it out there, but I can't really do anything. So may have to put an intermediate repeater or something along the way there. That's
So
all.
the Salvation Army unit is a Rocket M2 with a sector antenna that's facing roughly like 2 or 3 degrees off of north to the
Oh,
to the west.
okay. Well, that's probably why I can't see it.
Yeah, and you're welcome to go up there and twist that around and make it do things that it needs to do to make a connection. The roof is accessible, but you have to get into that small room
Mhm.
upstairs, and then don't let the door close behind you as you go the opposite to the opposite hallway. And there's a stairway right there that goes up to the roof access that did not, last time I looked, did not have a lock.
Oh,
So
cool.
it's easy to get to. The only key you need is to get into that little classroom upstairs
Okay.
that we've used before, where the equipment is in that little closet, that
Mhm.
classroom.
Yeah, I haven't worked with the Rocket M2. Does it have just a single antenna connection, or is there a
It
pair?
has it has two.
Okay. Um, I'm wondering if I could keep one for part of the directional and put an Omni on the other, or does that mess things up for those things?
Well, if you put another antenna, you got to make sure you know what um, whether it's a horizontal or a vertical orientation,
Okay.
or horizontal or vertical.
Okay.
So I'm not sure what I think, and I could very well be wrong, that the sector antenna is oriented horizontally. It's stacked horizontally.
Okay.
So you have to get the vertical side of your Omni, which just experiment, see which one works.
Mhm.
And usually, the way I've seen that deployed is with the Ubiquiti Omni antenna that has both polarizations in it, and so they use one of the antenna feeds for vertical and one of the antenna feeds for horizontal polarization.
Yeah, that's the way it's set up here at my house. But then you could repurpose the sector antenna possibly. Um, yeah, I don't know if maybe we could put the sector antenna up at um, Kurt Black's house, and it would be better served there. I don't know. Then he could that it's like a 120-degree bandwidth off of the antenna, so he could aim it to where it covers uh, Tom and Frank. Well, Frank is going to have he's going to be an odd man out anyway because he's down in the valley. But Tom is on the valley before him, which if we put because he's seen Tom with his current antenna. So if we put a sector antenna, that would boost the signal strength possibly between Tom and him, and then maybe up to Providence, Mount St. Vincent from uh, Kurt.
Yeah, I think down in the Delridge Valley there, I think most of the areas, if you've got even a short pole, you could probably still see or get a reasonable line of sight towards Mount St. Vincent. But I'm not sure. I hadn't played down there. So.
Tom did have early on, he did have a line of sight that was before he put up his current tower, and he may have the capability of putting something up on the tower now if it doesn't interfere with his 160-meter antenna. All right, Christian, are you back yet?
Yeah, sorry. It was just checking into the MST net here.
Oh, do we need to come back to you?
No, I can go real quick. I mean, I don't have a darn thing to report, so yeah, really was just checking in because I haven't done a whole lot.
Okay. Hey, neither have I, so you're not the only one in that boat. At least we have oars on both sides cranking away at nothing. Love it.
Perfect. Yeah, that's right. Are we both going in like opposite directions?
Yeah, we're going around in circles.
Yeah, perfect.
So in case you missed it, priority is to do some sort of a test up and down California with mesh, getting some sort of connectivity with equipment from parade start to parade end by the end of March, possibly, hopefully. So that's what we're looking at. Nick, your turn.
Yeah, so I guess Jim, WS7JIM, and I went to the Center for Active Living, the senior center, to try and get the equipment there. But the roof was locked, and we couldn't find the appropriate key. So we're gonna have to go back and do that again sometime. That was one thing. Then Steve Monsey donated to me, or to the club, through me, this 5 gigahertz dish. That's like it's like a ham-wan dish basically. So I can either give that to you, John. I was going to use it to try and set up a ham-wan link here at my home and then bridge that into AREDN. But I'm happy to turn that over to the club if the club has something better to do with it. But I want to let you guys.
I'd say go ahead and use it. Just send me an email that says that it's club donation, and I can add it to the inventory and just note that it's in good hands.
Okay. And it's just the dish. There's no radio in it, so I'm waiting to get that radio. But that's the dish. And then finally, relating to the parade, Jim and I and a couple other people had an email exchange talking about the West Seattle Grand Parade and using AREDN and maybe some other stuff to do location tracking for parade floats, and to try and have like a command center where we have a big display and can plot where every parade float is as it travels down the parade route. And I think it's a little bit ambitious, but I think it's also doable. And I think it would be a really cool demonstration for some of these technologies. I don't know exactly how we want to do location tracking. And I mean, we, like you're saying, Ron, we definitely need to test even just setting up a mesh at all on California. But if we could do that, I think that would be a really impressive, service that we could help provide for the parade. So
yeah, so Roger that. I can listen in and just confirming. At least it's listed as channel 4 GMRS channel 4 on my rate. K7XTN.
Hold on.
Yeah. So what I was going to do is I was going to connect with what's his name, the Puget Mesh guy. Oh gosh. Adam Melton.
Yep.
Because I know he has a lot of ideas about how to do that kind of location tracking, and then plugging that into something like an AREDN mesh. Because that would be pretty cool, I think, and I think he would be willing to help participate in this project. But I think only if we really are going to be able to start making progress against that. So I was going to connect with him and just try and figure out technically what are our options for doing location tracking, and sort of start to investigate what kind of equipment do we need to get, and how, like, what are we going to be what's going to do the location tracking, and how do we plug that into the AREDN mesh. But he seemed, if we're willing to drive it, I think he would be willing to provide his technical expertise there. So that seems like a good idea to me, and I just wanted to present that to you guys and see if there's other folks that want to participate in that effort.
Is that using Meshtastic in coordination with AREDN Mesh?
I think it would be, yeah. That was sort of the last time that Adam and I talked, which was very briefly. That was kind of the idea that we were tossing around, is it would be a Meshtastic to do location tracking, and there would be like a Meshtastic bridge from the Meshtastic devices that are doing the location tracking into the AREDN network, where we could then pull all of that data back into the command center. And in fact, any device on that mesh could like plug into whatever software we're running to do the location tracking.
So that would be like putting up a map, and then there'd be little symbols moving down the parade route.
Yeah. And we were talking,
about-
I mean, I don't know how much, I looked into some of these. I've seen these little, they look like, they're keychains. They're just little keychains that have a little battery in it and a little GPS radio and a Meshtastic radio. And all they do is collect the location data and then put it out on whatever the Meshtastic network or whatever it is. And I think that those devices are like $40. And so I don't know that we would put one on think that every single parade group would have one of these, but maybe every fifth one or something like that. Maybe we could.
Yeah, 5 is good. I was thinking 5, every 5th person.
Yeah, something like that.
What about video? Were you thinking of video along the route as well?
Yeah, that was the other idea that I had, is put up some video cameras that are recording, and putting that video feed onto the mesh too. And then we could actually maybe we could have a public facing booth or something somewhere, and people could come and see. They could see where the parade route is, and they could see, oh, here's what it looks like at Lander. Here's what it looks like at Spokane. Here's what it looks like, all the places where they stop to do a demonstration.
Yeah, Charlestown. Yeah,
exactly. I think that might be a neat way for us to have sort of a public presence and provide a service to the people that are standing around, watching, that come to watch the parade.
And hopefully
I think that would be very cool.
Hopefully we have a new logo for that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm all for that. I can't wait to get a polo shirt that has a new logo on it. It's so professional looking if you're doing outreach.
Yes.
The polo is better than a t-shirt, but we were hard pressed to get her done. That's why we went with a t-shirt the last time. And the guy at the Hotel Victor Zero Alpha sure appreciated that t-shirt.
Nice.
The Vatican radio station.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. So he got one of our t-shirts.
He got the blue shirt like I have. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, he appreciated it very much. Okay, John Walling.
So as I was saying earlier, I do have credentials to get in. On my location, I cannot put up an antenna that will reach anybody in the mesh network. So I've been limited to tunneling in I did have a tunnel working previously, but it was with a member who has since deceased. But so I'm trying to get into the EOC tunnel service, and I do have all the credentials. Carl gave them to me, and I think they're correct. But unfortunately, I'm not just making any connection at all. No indication that anything is happening. So my next step is to upgrade the firmware. Hopefully, that will correct any problem at my end, and we'll see if that works. So that's the limit of what I can do at my location. I'm kind of in a depression, surrounded by trees and buildings, and so I don't really have line of sight to much of anything. I do have a nice balcony, which helps me when I'm putting out my my Yagi antenna to reach the club repeater, but it's that's about all I can do.
All right. Thanks, John. Well, Rob, you're next.
I don't. Oh, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add. I just thought I'd pop in and see what's going on. If you guys were doing anything interesting or had any updates. But yeah, I essentially took a hiatus from pretty much everything except for my businesses. I'm starting a couple new businesses and closing all my stuff down in Washington and opening up a LLC or a couple of LLCs in Wyoming because taxes are better there. So anyhow, so
Okay.
been
Well,
busy with that.
as as you move forward, and if you get down there to that Yuma Hamfest, that maybe you'll get back in the mesh down there with those folks.
Yeah, that's I'm so glad you mentioned that because I totally would have missed it, and because I really don't pay attention to a lot of things locally here. I've been, like I said, just deep into the AI, LLM training, all sorts of stuff. So, but yeah, I'm gonna tomorrow. I've been looking at their schedule and everything, and looks like Gordon West might be there too.
Yeah, he and I
So,
camped right next to him in Quartzfest.
oh, okay. So, I don't think I've ever met him before, but it'd be cool if he was there. So yeah, I'm gonna pop pop over there probably about 11:30 or so tomorrow, maybe earlier, depending on what's going on, and
What's
spend the
his
day, and
called?
then
WB6 NOA.
yep, that's it. And so yeah, I'll check that out and see if maybe that'll get me kind of motivated again to get it in
Cool.
active and involved again.
All
So I've
right.
been so
Anybody have
distracted. So thank you.
anybody else have? I had to mute you, Christian, because you're going through on the GMRS, and I'll bet you didn't know this, but the East Tiger Group is doing some experiments to try
I'm so
and root out.
sorry.
They're trying to root out who the nefarious person is on the Tiger Mountain repeater. So they've asked for us not to shut down the repeater, even though there may be some stuff going on. So just let it go, let it flow.
Yeah, I got it. Hey, I'm so sorry about that. I thought I'd muted, obviously. Yeah, they were just trying to. They were just asking for reports on reverse to see who could hear the QRM on the input.
Yeah, so the repeater manager called me yesterday and we talked. I have access to shut that repeater down.
Yep.
They gave me access because it also duplicates on our channel 4. So
Yep.
if we have an emergency, I can put them off the air.
Yeah.
But I don't do that, and they've asked me to coordinate with them if I do, which is not a problem.
Yep.
But the big thing is they're trying to track down that nefarious
Yeah.
person. I hope they find him. They're using a Kraken.
Yeah, I hadn't. I just heard. In fact, the first time I'd heard about the Kraken was when Doug KD7DK brought it up at the ACS meeting, and I had no idea those devices existed. What a nifty, yeah.
Yeah,
the,
it's like
the Kraken.
four different SDRs that are just slightly out of phase, and I
Yeah,
think
they all
that's,
have the same was it the timer chip all synced together so they know exactly what offsets and everything else. And yeah, it's just amazing. I read about that a couple years ago. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that
yeah,
is
I
nifty.
heard it's about $800. So when I get the free $800, I'm gonna get me one. I think it'd be an invaluable tool to pass on to Nick when I die. I mean,
Well, you can build your own, I
oh,
think.
you could,
But
but remember at the very beginning, I said I wasn't that technical. Yeah, I can barely solder. I'm just kidding. I can do more than that, but they taught us how to troubleshoot down to component level when I was in the Army. That is a blue, like a capacitor.
USSR special.
Oh, which reminds me, when I was at Quartzsite, I participated in Ham Olympics. Um, Funny thing, one day they did disc throw and using the 5.5, 5 1/4 floppy disc throw.
you'd think they use the 8, but
They did Morse code with their left foot. Um, and then the one that I participated in, I got a trophy for it, was you reach in, and Gordon West was holding the box. I picked out a component and I had to turn my head away from my hand, show it to everybody, and then describe it and tell everybody what it was. And I felt around, and I found a switch that was a single throw, throw,
pull.
single pull, single throw switch. And I described it correctly, but then they made me work harder and says, what does it do? It allows current to flow or blocks current from flowing. So I got a trophy for that. Yay me. But
Congratulations.
yeah, that had nothing to do with mesh. I don't know why I even said that. It's fun things you do at these ham fests, especially the one at Quartzsite. I I think I'm going to take a 1 year off from Quartzsite because I'm still cold because it was 27 degrees one night and I was camping in a tent. So, but they did have some Meshtastic classes there. Too cold for me to attend. Windy as well, and they gave away 2 Meshtastic nodes as door prizes during the week. So it was pretty cool.
Oh, that was just a couple weeks ago, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, I missed that one too. Huh.
the last full week of January.
Hmm.
All right. Does anyone else have anything good for the good of the order?
We just want to talk about the next meeting.
Oh yeah. So do we want to continue with monthly meetings or do we want to switch to quarterly based on our activity, uh, our workflow?
I'm fine with quarterly, but the stuff for the West Seattle Grand Parade, I think that's going to involve more work than quarterly.
Yeah.
So as long as we can manage to organize some kind of people doing investigations and how we're going to get this done, or getting equipment ready, or testing out equipment, like you're, for instance, doing your exercise in March or April to try, that sounds like a great idea. And I think we're going to need another, batch of work like that to make sure that we can get this command center up and running, and whatever software we need for location tracking, and whenever we figure out how we're going to do that. So
We gotta pull in Ken AB7X. He's got probably has a uh, enough TVs to probably accommodate whatever we need for the command center, and he can do it on battery. When I did the announcing that 1 year, his whole system was run by battery, and it was great. I'd like to see about getting him on board to
That sounds like a good
advise us
idea.
on that.
So,
Yes.
And
I bet he
okay,
would like that too, because he's not, he's not doing the car anymore in the
yeah,
parade. So that's a great idea.
Nick, I wanted
keeps
to come up with another alternative, which is that at the end of each meeting, we decide when we're going to meet again. That way we can, I'm for flexibility as well as, I mean, there's a benefit to always having the same routine meetings, but there's also, since we're stretching it out, maybe we could look at a way to do each meeting we end up scheduling next meeting. If it needs to be in next month, we do it next month. If it can be done in 3 months, we do it in 3 months. And also come up with an agenda so that that way, if we're working on an actual project, people will know what the meeting is about. If that
those are all great things. I'm sort of leaning to go ahead and continuing the monthly meetings until after the parade. That is maybe in September we have a meeting and then don't meet again until December kind of thing.
That makes sense to me. Yeah.
And that way we're at least at a minimum, and everyone is perfectly welcome to use the Zoom link to meet even off the normal schedule meeting dates if you need a Zoom. But I know, John, you've got a Zoom. I know Nick's got a Zoom. John, AZP, you probably have a Zoom too. So we have enough Zoom to go around, but go ahead and use mine because I don't use it for anything else other than club activities.
And I'll add on to that. If you want to schedule a meeting and you wanted the general list to know that you're having this meeting, if you give me your date, time, and your Zoom connection, I can do the broadcast to say there's a meeting on this date, time for this subject matter. Everyone is welcome, that sort of thing. So if you let me know what you're planning, and I can schedule it, and then I'll just use my list to broadcast. If there's an agenda, I think most people will know whether or not they want to attend it or not.
Okay, the next meeting will be on March 13th. So you can set that in your calendars. March the 13th, it's 7 to jabber and 7:30 to record. And hopefully by that time, we'll come up with at least a bare bones agenda for you, John, that you can use sort of like a straw man going forward. But I've got to get Tom tied in and make him aware of what our desires are so he can start taking the lead of the committee. Part of this is in his committee, so I don't want to overstep my bounds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So March 13th, 7 o'clock.
Cool. Yeah. And maybe a couple of good goals for that is I'll finish all the conversations I'm having with Adam Melton about how we could do location tracking. And maybe by then we'll also have the equipment that we need to do that California mesh test. Because I guess I'm thinking right now it's the Senior Center and Brookdale, Alaska. If we get the equipment from those two sites, then that'll be great set of equipment to use for a test like that.
I think Brookdale, Alaska is going to be pretty quick.
Yeah.
I used a crescent wrench to put the thing up on the pole on the bar. So all you'll need is a crescent wrench.
Cool.
But take whatever tools you think you might need. All right, I'll stop the recording.